Good day, strategy gamers, and welcome back to episode 45 of our Let's Play series of Stalingrad to Berlin, War in the East 2. In this episode, we're going to wrap up the turn 24 ground movement phase. We're then going to, time allotting, which I think we're on schedule to have time for, we'll go into a bit of a mechanic learning of leaders in War in the East 2. We're not going to do a full-fledged 1-hour tutorial or anything on them, but we're going to at the very least expose some of the concepts, and I think it's one of the first times on the channel we've really looked at it, and which is almost a bit of a shame as we're now 24 turns in, but you know, there's a lot to cover. And then we'll close out the episode by ending the turn, taking a look at the end of turn summary as we always do, and getting ready for episode 46. So where we left off in the previous episode was right here past Aryol by Kursk. And you see we had some advances here along on the line. We're sitting pretty good there with that unit from a defensive perspective. And now we're going to continue working our way down to see where can we probe, where can we push the Germans back and have some success. One area that comes to mind here is we've got this rifle corps. And if we were to bring them up, that then gives us 24 against their 9. And I wonder if we could do something similar by bringing in the 4th Rifle Corps to make it an even stronger push. The only consideration that I have, though, as I look at that, is I wonder if it wouldn't be better to move those 2 Rifle Corps south and push a little here. But I don't think we're going to be, because looking at it, I actually think we're already going to have some success against these 2 units, and maybe we could push through against this mountain division. And I also think that it will be more pressure on the German player if we can continue pushing west towards Kursk than if we're pushing south in kind of this direction of almost a no man's land, right, where there's nothing strategic in this little pocket, but Kursk is very strategic. So I think we'll keep up the pressure on Kursk. And particularly, I want to try to push back this unit, and we'll see if we can't also do this in the same turn. So let's move up the 26th Rifle Corps. And then we're going to take the 4th Rifle Corps and move them up as well. So it's really weakened this hex, but we already have a bit of a buffer in between us, so not too terribly worried about it. Now we're sitting here at 30 versus this 11, and I think we're going to try to break through in this hex. And one of the reasons that I want to do this first is that right now, we can't move into this hex because we'd be faced off against 3 to 1 of these very strong units. If we can push back this hex, and maybe in the next turn if we can push back this hex because of the southward movement we've had here, that then opens it up where kind of this game of the hex management, we then have the odds and we're start attacking with multiple units as opposed to the German player. So we're going to start with that. We're going to take these 3 units, and we're going to go ahead and do a deliberate attack. Actually, before I do that, because we've got these rifle corps, I think what I want to do, yeah, I'm going to look and see if there are any support units we should assign. So I don't know how much that anti-tank regiment is going to help us there, so we're going to hold on that, and that's the 8th Guards Army. Let's see if the 47th Guards Rifle Corps can have some attachments. Here we go. So let's attach here the 105th Tank Brigade and the 53rd Guards Separate Tank Regiment. And I think that will help out immensely as we push through. And you see that even brought them from a 9 to a 13 combat value. So now we're going to attack. We have better than 3 to 1 odds. I've got this gut feeling they're going to have something committed to the defense, but we're still going to go with this. Yep, there we go. 13th Panzer Division was committed. Let's see how the result plays out. And they did hold because of that Panzer Division committed to the defense. So that's a little unfortunate. And now what we'll do is we'll try our luck at pushing through here. So we're going to take the remaining stacks. And it's a bit of a 2 to 1. And here they have another Panzer Division committed to the defense. Oh no, it's still the 13th Panzer, excuse me. So they held again. So that shows you the power of having these units in reserve helping support your front line. And in the 13th Panzer, because it hasn't been counterattacking, it's built up quite a bit of combat prep. So that did not go as we would have liked, but I don't know there would have been any way around that situation. maybe you could argue we could have moved the rifle corps north in this gap in between the two units. But I still think we probably made the right choice. They just had a good defensive setup to kind of stop us there. Now, hopefully, though, it means that because the 13th Panzer was helping out here, that they're not going to be able to help as much as we move south here. So, right off the get-go, I want to try to take this stack, where we have this rifle brigade and this rifle division. Actually, we should really turn one of these into a corps here. So we're going to turn this into a corps. And we're going to go ahead and push through better than 3-to-1 odds. And we routed both the security divisions. Really not too terribly surprising. Now over here, we have the 1st Tank Corps. And we have that rifle division. Yeah, I don't want to pull too much to the west here because we're going to need some units on this side too. I was curious if maybe I could try to break through this mountain division, but I think we're going to keep working our way down here. Or I think we're going to take the cavalry unit and have them attack. Oh, motorized division was committed to defense, so they held. Okay. So now we're going to take the full stack and attack again. Should be enough now. No? Oh, wow. Okay, that motorized unit did a lot more than I thought it would. So they again held. Let's take to the rear now. This cavalry unit. We're going to move up this rifle corps. We're going to do one last attempt at this. Here we push them back. Good news. Now they've moved back to the same hex as the motorized division. I don't think we want to move up yet. We did not have the success we were hoping for here on this line this turn, but hopefully next turn we'll be a little more prepared for everything. Unfortunately, we did raise the fatigue on some of these units, so like this 1st Guards Tank Corps, I actually am going to pull them back, so that way they can try to recover their fatigue value a little. Checking some of these other units, because we did use them a lot more than I would have liked this turn. 4th Guards Rifle Corps I would love to take out because it's at 80 fatigue, but it has no movement left. Okay. Alright, is what it is. Keep moving down south. Here they remain pretty strong in this pocket, and if anything, I'm going to be looking here going, yeah, we're not in a good position right now, at least, right, to hold this hex. So I think what we're going to do is take out the 1st Tank Corps. And then I think we will then take the 107th Rifle down. We're going to turn this into another rifle corps. Now we have defensive value of 28 versus their 45. And we're going to set this tank corps to reserve. And I'm going to take back this tank corps and do the same. Also, do that here. Okay. Left ourselves a little open here with this tank corps. Let's see if maybe there's not a support unit we could... No, it's just anti-air. Okay. Yes, we continue to be a little weak here, but I don't think they're in a position to push through. So we're going to leave it as is for now. I think the best way to counteract this, right, is to continue to have success here to the southeast of their lines. Now, we ran some recon air missions, and I'm really glad we did, because what we see is the picture behind this front line is actually one where the German player is really starting to build up a second layer of defense. So you see all these units have already dug in fortification levels of 1. So this must be kind of the area they're thinking to fall back to after this is collapsed. Because that implies, especially considering we're just coming off of the heavy mud season we had for those couple of turns, this certainly implies they've been doing this for a while, because the heavy mud would have actually deteriorated their fortification work. So, looking over here, I don't think there's any direct answer. We could... See, I'm tempted here with these guys. If we were to bring them up and to push through, say, here. So I have 17 defensive value. So if we brought over 16, that gives us 29 plus 7, 36. Yeah, we're still not even going to be really 2 to 1. I don't think we're going to have any luck there. I think, though, we might be able to bring up this rifle corps. And we will take this tank corps south. And what we will do is we will attempt to push through here. So that's almost 3 to 1. And we routed them. Good news, right? Good news. We're then going to take this rifle division, move them south to reinforce the south of our new flank here. And then we're going to take this rifle division down to reinforce this hex. And you know what? I'm gonna move this rifle corps over here, and we're gonna take a look here. So let's see. If I look at you, let's add a tank brigade to you. Let's add an anti-tank regiment. You're all part of 6 Army, so we're not gonna have anything else available with the other units. I'm going to move over this artillery unit. And I'm going to see if we can't break through here with this Hungarian armored division. And we did. I'm really glad we took that risk because that really helps us now. So now we ask ourselves, do we continue pressing on into that hex? I would really like to, but I think it might just be stretching us a little too far. Because they're going to have 25 attacking combat value just with what already exists here, much less if they bring in, say, this motorized unit or something here from the rear. I think we could just be too easily counterattacked, and then we find ourselves having to fall back to defensive positions again. So I'm going to move the artillery division back here again. And I'm going to actually take the rifle brigade, have them fill in on the line there. Just so that way they can't, I don't think they would, but just so that way they can't easily walk through there. I am debating moving up this infantry unit now that we've done that to get them feeling a little bit more pressure from a counterattack from 2 directions in the following turn, but I think we're going to hold. So the last thing I want is them again bringing up one of these units. This right here, if this is like the SS Totenkopf Panzergrenadier Division, if they brought that up, they could very easily then just break through and then pull back, and we could lose, say, this rail line, etc., etc. So we don't want to risk that, I don't think. Back here we had some units on refit, and they're actually looking pretty good, so we're going to toss them back into ready status. And I think we will move them up here, start pressuring. Bit of a counterattack. I'm going to take this 6 guards unit here. I think we might press the attack. Yeah, we're going to. Romanian Mountain Division was committed. They still retreated though, so we still won the battle. I'm just a little weaker here now than I probably would have liked. Yeah, okay. Very well. That's one of the last hexes, though, is we just now need this hex. And then these 3 here and that to complete our little rail line that I think is pretty important right now to our supply chain efforts in this pocket. Because right now, everything's having to come down south from Stalingrad, then go north again to reinforce and resupply these units, which is probably taking up more of our freight than we would like. let's see if maybe this Rifle Corps division, or Rifle Corps, we can't attach. Well, and actually, let me see the recon, what is in that hex exactly. So it is 2 elements of the 332nd Infantry Division, is what they have there. So I'm not expecting much armor. Even our recon in the background, we have just this 1 armor element that might come up. But I'm not sure they will. So I think what we'll do is we'll add in an AA regiment, 1 anti-tank regiment, 1 separate tank battalion. And then we'll look here at this rifle division. We already have an anti-tank, good. And let's add into this 482nd separate tank battalion. It just buffets our defense a little bit now, where it's not, they don't even have 2-to-1 with the forces that currently exist on the front line, right? Which means they would have to bring up, say, this armor element, and then even then, they're bringing up reinforcements just to counterattack 1 hex. I don't think that's necessarily in their playbook right now. And even if they did counterattack, it'd be somewhere like here, and if they do, I really don't care about them having 1 or 2 hexes of a breakout here, because it just opens it up then for us to get our objective of the rail line. Here along the front, I'm wondering if we're going to have some success, because you see some of these hexes, they've really, looks like they've really pulled back on. So I think I'm going to take this stack up. Oh, yeah, you see we're only at 13. So I think we'll take this Rifle Corps up here. That now gives us 21, which is fine. And then here, I'm going to take the 1st Guards Rifle Corps. And what we're going to do with the 1st Guards... No, actually, we're going to take all of these guys and we're going to push back this unit. We have such an advantage. Okay, so they retreat it. This really puts us in a good position next turn to say, hey, if you wait 1 more turn in that hex, we're going to counterattack with these 3, which have motorized elements, and you're not going to stand a chance. I'm betting because of our positioning here, we get this unit to retreat next turn. It's what I would do if I were in their shoes. We'll take this 1st Guards Rifle Corps, and we'll just do... I'm going to do a deliberate attack in case they have supporting units. We routed them. And then get that artillery in there too. We'll attack here. They held. How the hell did they hold? Did I not attack with the... Interesting. Anyways, we'll have you sit there, I guess. Well, no, we're gonna keep pushing here. We're gonna keep pushing. Romanian Cavalry Division was committed to the defense, and they did hold. Very well. We'll now take you north just to help again reinforce that hex a little. And next turn we might look at turning you into a Rifle Corps even. Back here, this tank corps was on refit. Let's see how they're doing. They're getting much better. We're probably in a position to bring them back into action. So we're going to set them to ready. Do you know actually what I'm going to do here? I'm going to take the 36 Guards Rifle Division up here. I'm going to bring up this tank corps. I'm going to push through here. There we go. So we routed that element of that infantry division. So now we're down to 7 against their 23. Is it time for the 5th Guards Army? I think it might be. Let's get these guys off refit. You're all looking really good now. Let's bring up this rifle division. Finally. Finally. And the tank corps we're going to... Oh, we can't pull it back. It looks like probably because of the zone of control they have over us. Yeah, look at this. 5th Guards Army. We're ready to get into action here. This is good stuff. So I think I'm going to have... For the most part, I'm going to have them help reinforce kind of the northern half of the units here. Because again, I think this rail line is so important. Take all of you off refit. Oh, what happened there? There you go. And yeah, let's get them up here. Have just get these guys a little closer. And that HQ unit we will bring up here. 64th Rifle Division can come in. Going right there. Excellent stuff, guys. Excellent. Here we have 29 against their 14. That is 2-1. Oh, but we've already attacked with that stack. That's error in my looking at the situation. I wonder though if like some of these rifle corps though we couldn't get up there because it looks like you were in refit, but you look just fine now. Yeah, you are. So let's bring you up to the front. And we'll bring you up to the front. And you should stay in the rear probably. Another, yeah, a couple of you aren't quite there and ready. So let's take these two stacks now. We find ourselves with 48 to 15. I like that. And we retreat at them. Which then alleviates the pressure right on a counterattack here. So all along the line, we're starting to have that success that we grew familiar to just before that mud season hit us. Here we're 1-to-1 defensively, so we're fine. I would like to advance with you guys, but I just worry. You're right on the border of me making the decision to have you go into refit status. These units, these rifle divisions that have 6,000 men, right? That's kind of mentally, when I look at it, a good cutoff to see maybe to go into refit. But there's this balance to be struck where if we think we might have an advantage to push right now, then it may be better off to push it instead of letting both sides, right, recuperate a little bit. Yeah, I think we're going to bring some of these up here. I think the question is, though, I'm going to skip south here real quick, because I think it might be more important to address how we handle this pocket right now than it does how we counter and keep pushing here these units that are north of the Donetsk River. Especially since like this situation, right, where they have a 2-to-1 advantage against us right now. If they counterattacked, this unit is surrounded by 4 hexes, right? There's a lot of stuff for us to solve here. So I think one of the first things I want to do is find out how we can push this unit back. And then if we can take this unit to push back here, this unit to push back here, suddenly that alleviates all the problems this stack is going to have. So let's try to solve that problem. How do we push back this hex? So what are the strongest units I have back here? So like this 5th Guards Tank Corps, I think is a great example of what we'll bring up. Okay. And then back here, this Rifle Division just coming off refit, I think we'll bring you up. So that gets us up to 20. And then this 47th Guards Rifle Division we will also bring up. This is a stack of 3 right now. But what we're going to do is... I think 58th Army, 7th Army. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the 38th Rifle Division back. Take the 44th Rifle Division here. This is now going to become a rifle corps. which then allows us to bring up this rifle division and this rifle division. Right, look at this situation now. Now, we have 49 to 33. Toss in the artillery. Oh, wait, I still need to get another division here. That's too far for you to move. Maybe I didn't think this through entirely that well. Yeah, I can get you up there, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And here, yeah, we'll move this unit up. Okay, this might be the largest. This might be the largest offensive combat value attack we've had in our entire series so far. We're taking all of these elements and we're attacking 79 to 33. Wow. And we won. And we won. How excellent is that? That is great news. Now what we will do is we will find a way. Let's see here. 5th Guard Tank Corps. I'm going to move you back up here. We're going to push through here. So we retreat at those two elements of the 183rd Infantry Division. And we're going to take back this 4th Guards mechanized. Will we? Or do we take back the Rifle Division? Let's see what each is contributing to the defense. Yeah, if we bring out the mechanized, we lose 7 of the defensive values. So we're going to bring out the 422nd Rifle. We'll move them up here. Now, what is one of the strongest infantry units we can get in there to help hold that hex? It might be this Rifle Corps. Let's do that. So that gives us 16 now, which means at best they're going to have 2 to 1. Let's also look to see if we can attach some support units to help out. We're going to attach this anti-tank regiment in case they bring up some armor. We're going to look now to, I think, this Rifle Corps. We'll add in this tank brigade and an anti-tank brigade. And the 51st Guards. Let's add in an anti-tank regiment. Alright, so that brings us up to 18. Not huge. It's not a huge change, right? But I think it should be enough now to hold that hex, which is so key. Which really is important. Now we've been so focused on doing, well, we solved this problem is pretty much the gist of what I wanted to say, right? Is we solved this problem here, which is going to allow us to continue exerting pressure on the northern front of Stalino. Now let's come back here and say, okay, do we keep pressing? Like this unit right here, I look at that and I go, I would really like to push you back, but we just don't have the movement points or combat prep to be able to do so. So what I'm debating is, do I move up into this hex at risk of counterattack from whatever's sitting here and then just reinforce this hex? I think I will. I think we'll bring up these two elements. And I'm glad I did, because it's not much that's sitting here. We're going to push this back. They retreat it. Okay. These two units we then move up. And we will also bring up that Rifle Division and that Rifle Division. Okay. So now here's our question, right? Do we overwhelm this hex by attacking with both? Or do we just use this stack to break through here? I think I'm going to come at them from the south and overwhelm them. So that's 32 to 10. And they retreat it. good news. Next turn, then we're going to be in a good position to push back this. And you see, this is great success because we've had two models of advancing our front line, right? One has been where they are weak, we push, they then recover, and then they create a new weak point, and then we adjust and push there, etc. And this back and forth. The other way has just been, and this will happen more and more as the Soviet player as we continue here, where we are able to push through and just steadily progress the entire front line one hex forward. Right? Think about how many units had to retreat here to have this happen. That really is quite incredible. Down here now, let's get some rifle divisions up to start thinking about reinforcing. It's like we'll bring you here. It'll come down as well. Because like this hex right now, I'm really worried about it because it's sitting across a 19 combat value. And at the very least, I would like to get my tank corps out of there. And do we then maybe bring in this rifle division? Which adds 3. It's not much. There's pretty much no reason to have a brigade here when we have so many other units. So we'll bring them back out. Let's maybe bring down this rifle division, I think. Take them off refit too. Gotta watch that. So now at the very least it gives us 8. Okay. It's a rifle brigade. What do we have back here? Here's a rifle division, but still on refit. We're going to leave it another turn on refit. You need to be on refit, not ready, with 6,000 men on an HQ stack. Speaking of that, oh, Central and Stalingrad front, that's what's back there. Okay. Do we have, yeah, this HQ unit just needs to move up. Same with the 6 Guards Army. There we go. It's a little more appropriate now. You're fine. I don't know that we have too much more back here that could be brought down to help with the defense. So here we have combat value 8, here we have 7. Honestly, given that this is where the... I was guessing that maybe the Totenkopf Festus Panzergrenadier Division was north there again, but it looks like they've brought it south back to Stalino. Is with that there, we cannot hold these 2 hexes against that. So this one I'm willing to risk that they don't take their 1 infantry division and deplete it with only 2-to-1 odds. I'm willing to risk that because even if we get pushed back, okay. But what I don't want to do is to openly allow them to be able to counterattack our 2 hexes here. Well, you know, you we might leave because you're actually at, what is that, 18 it looks like? Whereas you're at 7. I think you I will bring back. We're just going to retreat them back 1 hex. And then here, let's take a look at the situation and say, oh, do I have an opportunity to do a rifle corps there? I think I do. But we're going to leave them for now. We're going to go here to assign support units. And I want anti-tank brigades and regiments. So we're going to do the 29th Anti-Tank Regiment. Here we're going to take another anti-tank regiment. And this is a little bit of, by doing this preparation, I almost want them to attack against our fortified anti-tank position. We're going to add a heavy tank regiment here too. And an AA battalion. Because I would love to weaken the SS Panzergrenadier Division. It would be of more value to me for them to attack, lose this hex, and weaken the SS Totenkopf Panzergrenadier Division than it is for, in my mind, for them not to attack. Because by them not attacking, it's then this constant presence of where there's, say, 3 hexes on the front line that I can't break through if it's at full strength. And a similar situation here, right, with things like the 20th Panzer. In those situations, I would love for them to actually come and push through and attack. I'm going to set these guys to reserve, by the way, the artillery division. So down here, we're going to keep pressing because we have the advantages to do so. So let's take this stack and... see, I'm debating if I want to add in this stack. Yeah, we're going to do both. We're going to attack. Good, so we routed that infantry element. Down here, let's attack with all 3 of our hexes, right? So there was a Romanian cavalry division committed, but we still fought them back. Good. Got fatigue really high on these units, but that's okay. There's reserves waiting to come up. Down here, oh my gosh, look at this. They've retreated entirely on this line. So we're just going to push all of these units up. That's great news. Rifle division with 4,000 men these two are. Wow. That is horrible. That is horrible. 4,000, 4,000. But you know what? We're gonna push. We have to take advantage of the situation. Push them back. Don't have enough to attack. Can they attack again here? I think they can. 3-1. They retreated. Now we'll take this stack and attack here. Hungarian light division committed. And they held. Okay. Did that bring us down to 2? Looks like it did. So let's swing around this rifle division to help a little bit. And then we will take you up here, and the mechanized unit will go up too. I don't think I've attacked here. Let's try to push through. Successful. Good. Okay. We are closing in on Stalino, ladies and gentlemen. Down here, we're going to keep going to Crimea. Okay, so they've retreated back up to there. So let's first advance over here and see how far we can get. So this is kind of the choke point to hold, right? So what I think I might do is we're going to pull you guys up now. I'm going to take this right up there. You there. And we're just going to start beating these guys back. Don't have enough to do that. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. So I think we'll leave like the one rifle corps here to manage the choke point, and then we'll keep pushing units forward. Here we've got this new 37th Army arriving on the scene. Get all of these guys forward. Bring their HQ unit up. Good. Down here we finally cleared out all these hexes. Take you up there. You can go there. I'm gonna have this naval rifle unit just sit in Sevastopol, just in case. Bring you up there. Good. Good. Good news. Now, let's go over rail repair. Actually, that's not what I wanted. Control 9 to highlight where they are. There you are. All right. Now, we talked about this last turn. We're going to repair this hex. I'm going to go south here and repair these down to the port, and then come back north and keep working our way west. Then we'll have them cross over into the Crimea next to start repairing all of these rail lines to keep these guys reinforced. So that'll be good. Look at how much better the Caucasus situation has gotten here, right, with rail repair. That's really, really good news. Now our next rail unit is right up here, and they are going to continue repairing some of these units. We have stacks of 3 we need to deal with. Move them up one more. Move them up there. Okay. Now I think we work them back south to start going through more of these again until we capture this line, because we're going to need another couple turns to do that. So we're just going to move this unit back south again. Good stuff. Rails, yeah, they're all still good there. Where was the other rail repair unit? I think we had one up near Smolensk, right? Right here. Yep, there you go. And how are the rails doing here? Is the rail really damaged in Smolensk? I don't remember that being the case. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know if it's worth getting you along the front line here yet. It might be time to move you temporarily off Smolensk towards somewhere else. So we've already got, let's solve here, right, where we can repair rails by Adritsa. And this is going to be tough again because we've got these stacks fully stacked out, right? So we're going to have to do things like take this tank core off the line, frankly. These are things I really need to keep in mind in the future when I'm doing these decisions. Okay, so we've done that. Now when we look at it, we can repair these 3 hexes. Okay. Repair. Repair. And don't have enough movement points to get you to the next one. Fair enough. I do hope that I did not leave them vulnerable there. So let's move them back 1 hex. There we go. Okay. Back to looking at this, I think it might make sense to take that Smolensk unit and start moving it north because we have a lot of stuff to repair up here. Right, like this is an entire line going north-south to supply the push on Peskov. And we need some resolution to that. So let's get you on a train. You are not on a rail hex, which is ironic, I guess. We were probably on a broken rail hex. Ah, I know what it is. Smolensk is broken, which means you're cut off. So get you up there, get you on a train, and we're going to start moving you north. So then you can come and start repairing all of these hexes. Good. Good, good, good. So I think it does that for rail repair. We're good in our theater boxes. I don't think we had anything coming up reinforcements-wise or reserves-wise we want to deploy. So let's now talk leaders for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and end the turn. So again, we're not going to do a complete deep dive into leaders, but we are going to take our first kind of look at them. And the scenario that I want to do is say, okay, how can you kind of identify some opportunities where you have leaders that probably aren't in their best position? So we'll go through some of the steps to do that, and as we go along, explain some of the mechanics of leaders. Pretty much think of the leader as just, and when I say leader, I'm talking, say, the generals that lead the army, the marshals that lead the fronts, etc. Um, but their role is kind of this enhancing factor, and think of it like with die rolls, where it can be like +1. There are all these roll checks that happen actually in the background as the game's simulating everything to say, oh, is the unit going to rout, or does the general rally his troops and instead they simply retreat? Right? Those are all kind of dice rolls that do happen in the background, and they're prevalent in any game. There's no two ways about them. The best games ever make it feel like you never see dice rolls, but they are always going to be there to some extent. And the leaders just act as modifiers to that in a lot of ways. And then they also play into calculations for things like, okay, how many movement points is this unit going to have this turn? And there's a lot that come into that. There's fatigue, there's weather, there's just all of these different, actually weather doesn't come into movement points, forgive me for saying that, but there are all these different attributes that come into deciding how many movement points does a unit have this turn, and one of them, for example, is leaders. And let's go here to the commander's report, and we're going to go to the leaders tab. And this is a great tool. I've got it filtered down to army already. I'd suggest you kind of look at them in stages, right? Because if you mix in air headquarters, fronts, and all of that, it's going to start to get a little confusing for you. But I'm just filtered right now to army. It's the only thing I've got selected. And I'm on the leaders tab, and I've sorted everything by initiative smallest to largest. But let's go over here. We've got a political rating, a morale rating, initiative rating, an administrative rating, mechanized infantry, and air ratings. Those are the different values that can exist. Think of it like if you're playing a Madden or a sports game, right? You've got speed 0 to 99, tackling 0 to 99. That's kind of how all these are represented here, except they only go from 1 to, I think the highest is 9. Actually, I don't think it goes double digits to 10. I might be incorrect on that. Anyway, so you kind of look for the right balance, right? Because you don't want someone just to have super high initiative and everything else sucks. And I'm filtered to initiative because it's one of my preferred ones to look at. If you kind of rank them, I think the most important in my mind, and it's not an absolute thing, is initiative and then mechanized and infantry, depending on what type of unit you have that attached to. I think a strong case can be made for admin and morale, but I find that when I try to make decisions based off of all the factors all at once and trying to think through it, it becomes a little hazy. So I try to make sure that at minimum initiative and then either mechanized or infantry are a good rating for what I'm looking at. Politics is probably the one I always care the least about. Certainly arguments can be made against that philosophy, but for me, it's the one I care the least about. Morale helps with, as it would kind of imply, the morale of the troops, and then that has corresponding effects on things like fatigue, right? So it is important. Don't get me wrong, morale is important. It's especially important in different phases of the war, like say in a 1941 scenario, if you're the Soviets, where morale is going to be low, right? And you need some help there. And admin is really important as you look at building up larger forces, stretching supply chains, all these different things. That's where admin can come in and play a big hand. Initiative, though, the reason I like it is it has direct influences on things such as how many movement points do you have and how effective are your units in combat, right? So you've got that machine gun squad, right? And remember, things are broken down to different layers within each division, and machine gun squads might be one, right? You've got that machine gun squad, and a die cast will be rolled to say, what are the chances that machine gun squad advances at the right time, not too early, not too late, to put the pressure on the enemy, and that when they get there, they have effective fire that changes the battle in a positive way, right? That's the type of thing that initiative impacts. And I really like that because I think it can be so important at that micro scale. So what I'm looking at here is just, what are the units with the lowest initiative? Because this is kind of a quick way to say, where might I have opportunities to get in a better leader? Really, if you want to min-max every leader, there are very few ways to do it other than looking at kind of every army kind of as a one-off, and having a lot of supplemental things. Like I know in the past I've tried to have in an Excel sheet and stuff this open and going through and making notes on all the different leaders, and you can do it that way. But if you're new to the game, you're watching this series and you're trying to take advice from these mechanics, I wouldn't suggest starting there. I would suggest doing what we're going to do here, where just you kind of every couple of turns try to look for opportunities with your leaders where you can change them. Now, it's worth noting that when you change leaders, it costs you administrative points. And especially later game, that's often not too much of a concern. But note that we were up to about 200 administrative points. Now we're to about 90, 75, somewhere in there. So they're not this infinite pool of resources. And if we change 20 leaders this turn, we would not have enough administrative points to do so. Other things that exist here are the name, the rank, unit, the max command that they're capable of handling, and then how much that's what this is. This is the cost that it is to actually change this leader out. How many administrative points does it take? How many victories have they had? How many defeats have they had? Okay. When we're looking at armies, the Soviet player in this time period, right? Armies should be Gen L and Gen M, which I'm pretty sure are kind of Lieutenant General and Major General, or what they translate to. But those are the kind of sweet spot for commanding that size of unit organizationally as an army. If you're looking at things like a high command, then you want to look at Gen A for Army General or Marshal, MAR, right? So there's different levels tied to the rank that they all are optimized for. And there are some great sections in the manual, by the way, that do break a lot of this out with good tables to help you identify kind of what those sweet spots are. Anyways, I'm starting to get a little deeper into this than I wanted to, but we're looking here at just kind of, lowest ranking initiative leaders to highest, to kind of see what are some easy opportunities for us in terms of making adjustments. And right here, I see these first two, and I did some research off screen, so don't waste too much time. These first two actually aren't tied to combat units right now. They don't have anything in their armies. But here we have the Second Shock Army, and they are active in combat. And sometimes some quick ways you can see this too are victories and defeats, and in my own personal view too. So I should note this. Victories and defeats can actually influence the ratings over time, right? So these can change over time based off the successes or failures that they have on the battlefield. Your leaders can also just be removed without you doing anything by, say, political elements within your country. But here we see that the Second Shock Armies had 4 victories, 3 defeats. That's actually not that great of a ratio, especially for a shock army. And when we look at this, you guys are probably going to be a little surprised to see where it's at and how strong it is. So let's take a look at the Second Shock Army. We filter just down to them, and we see that it has 4 political, 4 morale, 3 initiative. Admin is 5. 5's a pretty decent score for admin. 2 is mechanized and 5 is infantry. And 2 is really quite low for mechanized, especially when we go to look at this. We're going to click on his name, and here you see his little general lieutenant card. And if we want to change them, we would click dismissal costs, and it would let us then choose who the replacement is. But before we do that, let's take a look and see, what is in the Second Shock Army. And it brought us on the map to where it is, and we can click, we can click here Why isn't it highlighting for me? There we go. We can click here and see where it is on the map, right? Now, ironically, we've done this and saw, oh, crap, actually, we're getting a little bit out of command range, so I'm also going to just move them up, and they were on a train, which is not ideal. I should have caught that earlier. But anyways, we've got the Second Shock Army here in our Adritsa front, and as you guys know, this is one of our strategiig priorities, right? There are very few things more important to us right now than pushing through Adritsa and getting to Rizekni, onto Riga, etc. So it's very important we have the right leaders here. When we look at the Second Shock Army, look at what it's made up of. Tank Corps, Tank Brigade, Mechanized Corps. There is a lot of armor and mechanized units here. But when we look at our leader, he has a horrible mechanized rating. Horrible. So not only did he have low initiative, which kind of first caught our eye, he also has very poor mechanized rating. So at minimum, if you're going to use this guy, he should be in an army that is made up of rifle divisions and brigades and corps, maybe. So we're going to dismiss this guy. Just, we have had enough of him, which then brings us to this screen. And this is kind of the AI, the computer will automatically sort and bucket this for you to try to make it as easy as possible to find a replacement. And I do find it does a very good job at this. I really do have to commend how good the search results are. So here we've got a list of options. Here we have their various stats, and they're even shorter acronyms, right, to all fit on this little menu. So going left to right, we've got the politics, morale, initiative, admin, all exactly like what we had seen in the commander's report. Mechanized value, infantry value, air value, what's their record, right, what are their victories and defeats. But then on the right, this is very important, it says what unit are they a part of right now. So if you're just looking for quick wins, quick opportunities, I suggest you try to find replacements that aren't currently tied to a unit, because then you're not going to create this domino nightmare for yourself where you replace someone who, let's say we wanted this guy who's in the 5th Guards Tank Army right now. Great. Well, now we have to go make sure that the 5th Guards Tank Army has the right guy leading it. It becomes this domino thing that can get really unwieldy really quite quickly. So looking through here, I think there are a couple of options, right? This unit, or excuse me, this guy, Ivan Petrov, has really high political, morale, administrative ratings. 4 is a pretty respectable mechanized rating. You'll see that even the best guys we have here really don't go above 6. 6 is the highest value we see anywhere here. Forgive me, there's one exception. There's one exception here, this Pavel Rodomistrov, who has an 8, right? But other than that, really the average certainly you would say would be 4 or 5. For the best ones, right? If we scroll down, I should note this, right? If you keep scrolling down, you'll find there's lots of 2s, lots of 1s. And these are the guys that aren't assigned because they're really not that great. So I think there's some options at the top of the list. That was one. Ivan Petrov. My goodness, my apologies for just butchering that 3 times. We also have Ivan Mazlanikov. And then we have Mikhail Kozin. Now Mikhail is at a 3, so I don't think we're going to go with him because we have so many mechanized elements. So I would like to stick then with one of the 2 Ivans we've got. And given the importance of this front, I think we're going to choose the first Ivan because these other ratings for things like morale and administrative, I think really will help us here. So we're going to put Ivan Petrov in charge of the Second Shock Army. And there's a little portrait of Ivan. The developers have done a great job, right, to comb through and to get all these photographs, right, to add that flavor to the game. So let's take another look here. If let's maybe do one more, where we're looking and seeing, where are other opportunities. Right here, this 52nd Army. Lieutenant General, you have 536351. Let's just take a look at you. This guy I haven't researched at all. And you're part of the 52nd Army, which is up here by Lake Gilman, it looks like. Yeah, it's right here. So this very much is, you are all infantry units. So let's just see if maybe there's just a commander that is as much or more infantry focused with a higher initiative rating. In infantry ratings, I have found it's a lot easier to find higher ratings for infantry than it is for mechanized, which kind of makes sense given the time period, etc. Right? There weren't hundreds of very experienced tank commanders when tank warfare was so revolutionary in World War II. So I should point out that at the very top here, it does list the current stats of the leader that you're trying to replace. So it's a good reference in case you forget any of these numbers. So we see 351, and the first opening we have here would be the other Ivan, who would be considered for the Second Shock Army. And you see that in both mechanized and ground, or in infantry, excuse me, Ivan has a higher rating. But what's more important to me is that for morale and initiative, this Ivan is higher. He is 1 higher on morale and 2 higher on initiative. So I think he would be the better fit for the 52nd Army, especially since today he's doing nothing. Right? He's just sitting in the rear. This is an easy optimization we can make to our game. So we're going to go ahead and replace, already forgotten the guy's name that we replaced, the poor fellow. And now we have Ivan in charge of the 52nd Army. So we're coming up on time here, so we're going to cut short that review of the mechanic with that. I'm going to do my AI depot management, yes, and then we're going to end turn and close out. Okay. I need to go off freight mode. Oh, that's what happened. The Second Shock Army wasn't on a train at the time. I was still on the freight movement mode because I was moving around the rail repair guy. That explains a lot. Let's end turn. I think we've got everything taken care of. We'll skip past some of these air resupplies that we're running. Okay. Now, let's see what the German player does. This is, for them now, just like it was for us, the first turn where they have the option to counterattack without heavy mud. And if you recall to the previous episode, the first half of turn 25, we had 2 huge breakouts right here in the Smolensk area, and a little bit further north of Idritsa. So I'm very curious how they're going to try to respond to that. I'm actually really excited to see. I can't wait to see what they do, but I'm also very nervous to see what it is. I am hoping with such great optimism that they play it conservative and they try to contain our pockets. I'm hoping they don't try to do intensive counterattacks because I fear they will be successful. But the thing that we talked about in the last episode is these 2 pockets recreated by Smolensk and Idritsa. Even if they do either contain or counterattack, it goes back to our strategy of hitting them where they're weak and forcing them to reallocate, creating new weak points on the line. So even if the worst case is both pockets get collapsed or pinned down or what have you, great. We still force their hand on what they want it to do. Here we see they're running quite a few sorties, 250 for day 1. But based off of day 2 and 3 being nothing, it leads me to believe that they were all recon. So we'll see if... Yeah, I think it probably is all recon looking at this. What's really good news is you see we've actually had, via air combat, our own air superiority missions have shot down 6 airframes. 5 have been lost to flak and 11 to operations. We haven't lost a single airframe. That's really good news. They flew 500 sorties and we didn't lose a single plane, guys. Very happy about that. I would have, of course, liked to have shot down 100 of their planes, but that's just not going to happen. Okay, they're doing their air resupply, and now we get to their ground movement. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Okay, I always do this. You guys know I always do this, but are they not going to counterattack? I feel like I'm always 5 seconds ahead of this message board here. They didn't counterattack? 92%? No. You're kidding me. They didn't have a single counterattack? I don't know if I'm happy or disappointed by that. Honestly, I think I'm a little disappointed because I would have liked them to exhaust themselves with counterattacks. I wanted some counterattacks. I didn't want them to be so conservative. I feel it was probably the best move they could have made was being conservative. Wow. And what's happening here, guys? Are they not defending that? No. Okay, we don't rarely do this, but I want a bit of a cliffhanger here, and I have to look. Like, I literally don't have the patience right now to read you guys the end of turn summary without looking to see what happened by Smolensk and Adritsa. I'm sorry. We have to break our usual episode routine, and we have to check out what happened, because I'm so excited by what I saw there. Yeah. Finish the logistics turn, whatever. We're all good. Trucks move. Boxes go from the rear to the front. That's all there is to it. Yada, yada. Come on. Come on. Oh, I know I only have to wait 1 minute here for this to all cycle through, but it's killing me. Are these our first meaningful breakouts that weren't countered in the entire series? They might be. I literally feel like time has stopped, guys. Yeah. Save it. Okay. I need to look. So. Okay. So they didn't counterattack and instead built an entire pocket to stop us. Wow. Huh. I'm really excited by that. Because look now what that's done here. All 3 of these hexes we can break through. And I'm willing to bet that if we did a full review of the entire front line, we'd find even more areas where we have more opportunity to break through. And I think we have enough back here to be able to defend this pocket. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this by Smolensk. They are just in retreat, guys. It worked. Remember, right, we made the decision. We weren't going to commit 1 or 2 armies to defend this pocket. We were going to just let them push up into it because we knew that the best way to defeat them was to push through Smolensk, forcing their withdrawal. That is exactly what we have done. Look at it. There is no enemy unit within sight here to stop us from advancing 2 or 3 hexes just from the get-go next turn. That is such exciting news. Wow. Next episode is going to be a blast. Let's just look real quick to the south, see if they did anything here. Yeah, look, they've just pulled back. Look at this, guys. We're going to break through this so easily now. This was all so much stronger in the previous turn. It really was. We were looking at, if you added up all of their defensive combat value protecting this entire rail line last turn, it probably would have numbered about 200 defensive combat value. Now, if you add them all up, it equals 40. This is just wonderful. Even look here at Stalino, SS Topenkopf division, excuse me, has retreated. Right? Wow. Okay, I've distracted myself with a shiny. We need to end the episode. We lost 60,000 men. That's up a little bit over the average. 1,000 guns, 600 armor, 340 airframes. order of battle, we stayed flat on men, lost 500 guns, lost 200 armor, and gained 170 airframes. The German player actually had a pretty good turn in their order of battle changes. They were positive 30,000 men, negative 200 guns, positive 40 armor, positive 120 airframes, which is pretty good for them of late. We have 61 units on low supply, which is just nothing compared to what we've dealt with historically. 30 units on ready is still a little high for me, and 82 that are under strength, but it's gotten a lot better. Looking at new events, Mighty Eighth continues the raid. Germans had another setback in North Africa. I think that's multiple now in the last 3 or 4 turns. And Soviet partisans continue their work behind the lines. Guys, what a great episode. I am so pumped to do the next one after seeing the results here of all of our great work over the last 2 episodes. So thanks so much for coming along on the ride with me. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedbacks, please put them in there. I'll get back to you. As always, I really appreciate your support of the channel and the videos, and honestly, this amazing game and the community that makes it up. It's been a wonderful experience getting into this with you guys. With that, strategy gamers, hoping you have an excellent day. Bye now.